joining in. Okay, we'll start with the revision of the previous class. In the previous class, we have seen the steps of how to execute the instructions. Okay, these steps are already over. And then we have seen that if there is a program executing serially, and if any interrupts will come, any interrupt will come, then it has to jump to the ISR. So what it has to do? It has to save its state up to this. The state means the current value of PC, general purpose register if they are containing anything, and the control information. Control information means any control signal generated. So all this information will be stored. Then it will jump to a new location where ISR will be ISR will be there. ISR is interrupt service routine. Interrupt service routine is nothing but a function which will do some function here, and after dealing with that it will again come back to its normal execution process by restoring the state. Okay, so restoring the state means PC value will be again set to the old PC value, general purpose register will be overwritten by the old values, and whatever control information is generated, those will be executed. Okay, then we have seen buses are used to link two or more functional unit, and the bits are transferred parallelly. So there are three types of buses: data bus, address bus, control bus. And we have also seen one example of a single bus, where a single bus is there and all the functional units are attached to that single bus. So at a time only two functional unit will work. Okay, then we have seen how operating system helps us to execute a program. Whenever you double click one program that is present in the disk, it will come to the memory and program will be executed, and then it will be stored in the disk. Whatever result it will generate, it will be stored in the disk. Again same thing will happen whenever we double click one another program, it will come to memory. Sometime it can go to printer to print the output. So at a time in our system multiple programs are running, that's why it is called multi-programming or multitasking, because multiple tasks are going on in our processor. So also we have seen that in if we want to measure the performance of a two system, then the performance depends upon multiple number of factors. So it does not only depends upon the clock rate or gigahertz, it also depends upon multiple two more things. Okay, so today we will see how it depends upon other things as well. Okay, so I have told you the performance equation. The execution time of a program is equal to T is equal to n into S by R. N is number of lines of code or number of instructions present inside that program, multiplied by S. S is number of steps to execute a single instruction. Okay, n is number of instructions, S is steps required to execute a single instruction. What is the difference? Because we have seen where in the previous class also, the addition operation, for addition operation we need multiple number of steps. Addition instruction is a single instruction, but for that we need multiple number of steps, so that is S. Okay, so S and N will be multiplied, and R is inversely proportional to your T. R means R is your what is that, clock rate. Okay, so rate is inversely proportional to your time taken. So if more gigahertz, that means the time taken will be less, but also it depends upon N and S. So that's why in the last class I have told you that if two machines have two different gigahertz and you want to execute the same program, okay, so two machines have two different gigahertz and still you want to execute the same program, then also the highest gigahertz machine may not be faster. Okay, so let's see why. Okay, why it may not be faster. Okay, so we use some benchmarking softwares to measure the performance. Okay, sometimes to measure the performance of any system, either mobile phone or PC or laptop or whatever computing system, you use benchmark means these are some standard software that contains multiple different kinds of algorithm, multiple different kinds of programs inside it. Some programs are graphics intensive, some programs are CPU intensive, some programs measure the memory efficiency, some program measures the data transfer between memory and processor. So this benchmark software measures all kinds of parameter inside the system. Okay, so this benchmark software contains multiple different kinds of software, another different kinds of programs. Okay, so it is not just a single program, it contains multiple programs. Okay, so as we have seen, the performance is good if your execution time is less. Okay, if your execution time is less, then you can improve your performance. So to improve the performance or to reduce the execution time, we have to reduce n and s and increase the value of r. Okay, these are the three parameters only for execution time. So you have to decrease n, decrease s and increase the value of r. Okay, so what are the what things we can do so that our n will be reduced, what things we can do so that our s will be reduced, and how to increase r. Okay, so this is the final means our only way to improve our performance of your system. Okay, so now how to decrease n? How to decrease n? N is number of instruction a program generates. Okay, so who generates the instruction? Compiler. Compiler is the one who generates the instruction. Instruction means, always think in computer organization architecture, instruction mean I am meaning the assembly level instruction, not the high level language that you are writing, not the C program instruction. I am talking about your assembly level language. Assembly level language means this one, add r1 comma r2 like this. This is a assembly level language. So this type of instruction I am meaning. Okay, so this type of instruction will be generated by our compiler. Okay, so if we improve our compiler such that it will generate less machine level codes. Okay, that is an option. How to decrease n? N is number of instruction. You do something in the compiler department so that this compiler will generate less number of machine codes. Okay, so improve the compiler. Okay, and there are lots of methods are available in literature in and how to improve the compiler so that it will generate less number of machine code, that we will read in advanced computer architecture, that is a elective subject in the next year, in third year. Okay, so if you will take the elective subject, then we can see how to optimize the compiler so that compiler can generate less number of machine codes. Okay, so that is one, that is your one factor is reduced. Okay, so your n is reduced now. Now we will go for s. Okay, how to reduce the number of steps of a instruction? Okay, to execute one instruction we have to execute that instruction in less number of steps. Okay, so if each machine code takes less steps to execute each instruction, then s will be reduced. Okay, and which is also a good thing that we will see how to reduce s in later sections. Okay, so the technique is we have to reduce s so that instruction will be executed in less number of steps. Okay, another third improvement we can do is improve r. Improve r means you have to increase the gigahertz of your machine, and which is very difficult because it is a hardware. Okay, hardware have some limitation, oscillator has some limitation. Okay, so it is called integrated circuit should be improved. Okay, integrated circuit which generates the clock signal, it should generate the clock signal faster. That means what, you have to change your hardware, and which is very difficult, and very few improvement you can do to increase the clock rate. Okay, so our only options left are n and s. Okay, understood up to this? Any doubt you can ask. I'll wait for few seconds. If you have any doubt you can ask up to this. Okay, so what I was telling in the previous class, that even if you are given the same program to execute in two different machine having different gigahertz, if your compiler is not optimized, okay, your compiler, if your compiler is not optimized, then the biggest gigahertz machine can generate multiple more number of machine codes than your fully optimized less gigahertz system, and your less gigahertz system may run faster than the more gigahertz system. Now you understood what is the logic behind this. If you have any doubt you can ask, you can unmute and ask or write on the chat. Okay, very simple. Two systems are there, both have different r value, but if both will generate different n value, then it may happen that your highest n value, which is the compiler generating more number of instruction, can execute the program slower than the fully optimized compiler. Okay, so that is a thing. Okay, understood. So now we will see how to decrease s. Till now we have not seen how to decrease s. We have seen that n value can be decreased, but n value, how to decrease it, it is a very big thing that we will not read in this section, means in this syllabus it is not there, it is in higher class, that means in advanced computer architecture. So we will not read how to optimize the compiler so that it will generate less number of code. Okay, but we will read how to decrease s. Okay, how to decrease s value. S is a number of steps. Okay, so for that multiple things are proposed. From that, one thing is called pipelining. Okay, what is pipelining in English? Who can tell? Somebody unmute and tell what is pipelining in English. Normal definition, pipelining, not technical. Anyone? Pipelining. Aaron Thomas. Aaron Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is pipelining? English meaning.
So, like, is it overlapping multiple instructions?
Yes, overlapping multiple instruction. But what is the meaning of pipelining in normal, not in computer architecture? Pipeline.
Uh,
What is pipeline?
Pipeline, like, just sure, like, just like in like, we connect in like continuous series or something.
Yes.
The data.
Okay. let me tell you one example. In case of car manufacturing, okay, so there will be different steps in car manufacturing. Suppose one robot will come and fit the top of the car, one robot will add wheels to it, one robot, next robot will come and fix windows to the car. Okay, it is not looking like car, it is looking like bus. Okay, whatever it may be. Okay, so there are robots which will be assembling these things. Okay, so what pipelining does, this will be done in sequential way, sequentially. Okay, so first car top will come, then somebody will add the wheels, somebody will add after that the window. Okay, so this is a sequential operation. If we want to parallelly execute it, okay, so this is called a normal pipeline. This is called a normal pipeline. We cannot execute them parallelly, because when some robot is assembling the top part, we cannot able to also add the wheels. Okay, so this is a sequential process, but if we will do this process sequentially, suppose 3 steps are there and car is ready. To make this car single car, how many steps are required? 3 steps. What about the second car? What about the second car? How much steps it will take? It will take the same 3 steps. But when this, let me draw this, when this car is already finished, suppose this car is already finished the first step, now the car is in third step. What about these 2 places? These 2 places will be empty. So why not feed the second car here? The second robot will do the fixing for second car, the wheels. What about the first place? The first place will add the top part of the third car. Understood? So this is called the pipelining. Means we cannot do we cannot do parallelly. This robot cannot do 2 things parallelly, but it can do uh, without waiting for this car to be finished. Okay, understood? So you don't have to wait till this car will be finished, you just have to do your own work. Okay, understood? Or any doubt in this case? What is pipeline? Okay, no problem. We will see our this example, this architectural example, you can easily able to understand. Okay. Okay, what is this? Pipelining execution means executing the instruction parallelly in different stage, not in the same stage. Okay, so suppose like in car example we have 3 steps. In our instruction execution example we have 4 steps. First is instruction will be fetched, instruction will be decoded, instruction will be executed, and if any result will be there, then it will be written to the main memory. Okay, understood the 4 steps? Okay, so what we can do in the first, whenever instruction 1 will be fetched, okay, so in this instruction fetch, only one instruction it can fetch. Instruction decode, only one instruction it can decode. Execution, it can execute only one instruction at a time. Okay, at the same time only one instruction can be executed, one instruction can be fetched, one instruction will be write back. Okay, but if we add it to a pipeline, so in cycle number 1, suppose in cycle number 1, let me remove these things. This is the final result. Let me remove this and I will tell you. Suppose in cycle number 1, cycle number, suppose our instruction is starting here. Instruction 1 will be fetched. Simple. What will happen in cycle number 2? Instruction 1 will move to instruction decode phase. Sorry, this is your instruction 1. It moved to instruction decode phase. Now instruction fetch unit is empty, so it can fetch the second instruction. Understood? Now in cycle number 3, instruction 1 will move to third phase, which is your instruction execute phase. Instruction 2 will be moved to instruction decode phase. Instruction phase is empty now, so it can fetch the third instruction. Okay. What happened in cycle number 4? In cycle number 4, instruction 1 will move to instruction write back phase. Instruction 2 will move to execute phase. Instruction 3 will move to instruction decode phase, and in fourth cycle another fourth instruction can be fetched by the processor. Understood? So what we are doing here, we are executing 4 number of instruction parallelly currently. Okay, in our pipeline we have 4 number of instruction, 1 2 3 4, 4 different instruction we are executing parallelly, but in the same step only one instruction is executing. This is called your pipelining execution. Okay, understood? Let's do one mathematics, simple mathematics. So we have to calculate what is the value of s. Okay, in this case we have to calculate what is the value of s. We will calculate without pipelining and with pipelining. Okay, so if there is no pipelining, 4 instruction we have to execute, and each instruction will take 4 stages. Okay, if with pipelining or without pipelining, you have to complete the 4 stages for an instruction to be completely executed. Okay, so if there is no pipelining, how many number of cycles it can take? 4 into 4, 16. 16 clock cycle, 4 instruction will take to execute in 4 stages. Is there any doubt up to this? Four instructions we have. Our program has 4 number of instruction. Each instruction has to go through 4 stages. So total 4 into 4 is equal to 16 clock cycles. So in 16 clock cycles, 4 instruction will be executed. This is no pipelining. Mark this. This is no pipelining. Okay, there is no pipelining. So 16 number of clock cycles are utilized for executing 4 instruction. So what is the value of s? We can calculate 16 number of clock cycle divided by how many number of instructions were there? 16 divided by 4 clocks per instruction. Okay, so these many number of clocks per instruction will be used to execute this program. Any doubt for no pipelining?
No, sir.
Okay, so with pipelining what will happen? 4 instructions, same 4 instructions are there, 4 stages are there, but in this case what will happen? The first instruction, this is the first instruction, it will take 4 clock cycle. What about the second, third and fourth instruction? Whenever the first instruction will be here, whenever the first instruction will reach at the last stage, it has already taken 4 stages. The second instruction is just behind it. Okay, so in the C5, suppose here we will do for C5 as well, clock cycle 5. Here it will be I5, here it will be I4, here it will be I3, here it will be I2, and I1 will leave the pipeline. Understood? So how to calculate the number of cycles taken by 4 instruction? So for first instruction it takes 4 cycles. Understood? So for the first instruction it takes 4 cycle. How many cycle the second instruction will take? When the 4 cycles are running, the previous instruction was just behind it, so it will take only 1 cycle. Yes. Okay, So it will take only one cycle. What about the second instruction? Second instruction also will take on one cycle. Third instruction will also take one cycle. So total 4 instructions are there. First instruction took 4 cycle, second instruction took 1 cycle, third instruction took 1 cycle, fourth instruction took 1 cycle. So it is 4 plus 3 equals to 7 clock cycle total. If you have any doubt, you can ask it. Or if I will explain again this part. Anyone wants me to explain this part again? Okay, clear? Okay. Limitation of pipelining. Yes, there are limitations that we will see. Okay, so there is no disadvantage, advantage is there. So to make it more efficient, we will see what we can do with pipelining for make it more efficient. Okay, so there is no disadvantage currently. Only disadvantage is there that if I1 and I2 will be depending upon each other, then there will be a problem. Okay, suppose I1 and I3 can be dependent upon each other, that we will see end of this chapter, or maybe we will see whenever we will read pipelining in detail. Okay, there is limitation, yes, there is limitation, so we will see that later. But currently we have 4 instruction, 4 stages are there. First instruction will take 4 cycles, second, third, fourth instruction will take only 1 cycle to leave the pipelining. Okay, so total number of cycles are 7, and now if we will calculate S value, it will be 7 plus 4, that is 1.75, which is much less than 4. Now you understood how we have improved the value of S. S is the number of steps to execute the instruction. So first instruction S value was 4, but for second instruction S value was 1, because we are executing them parallelly. Okay, understood? I think there should not be any confusion. We have improved the value of S. S is number of steps, right? But the here you say it is number of wait 1 minute, clocks per instruction. No, it is number of steps we are doing, and every clock cycle we are executing one step. So number of clocks is equal to number of clock is not clock means clock cycle, not clock gigahertz. Okay, so these are one cycle. Cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, cycle 4, cycle 5. What is cycle? I have mentioned in the previous class. This is a cycle, this one. Okay, inside this one cycle, one instruction is means one instruction is doing completing one stage. Okay, so in every cycle we are each instruction is doing one stage, it is completing one step. Okay, so each instruction has to undergo all these 4 stages, but as we are executing it in pipelining, first instruction will take 4 cycles, second instruction and rest all other instruction will take only 1 cycle. Okay, so the if you will write this as a equation, so n plus n minus n plus n is number of instruction present in your program, plus number of stages minus 1, something like that. Okay, whatever it may be, you understood the concept, right? So this first one is number of stages, not n. The first one is number of stages, so in this case it is 4 plus n minus 1, number of instruction minus 1. Okay, so in this case 4 plus n is in this case is how much? 4 minus 1, that is 3. So 4 plus 4 minus 1. Okay, so 4 is number of stages, so we have to execute 4 number of stages, and there are n number of instructions, so total will be number of stages plus n minus 1 number of instruction. Okay, so that is the generic formula. So if the number of instruction will be more, here in this case we have only executed 4 instruction and we got s value is equal to 1.75. If the number of instruction will be more than this 4, then s will tend to 1. S will tends to 1. That means each instruction will be executed in exactly 1 clock cycle. Understood? So this is the takeaway from the discussion. If we are using pipelining, so we can mostly make each instruction to execute in 1 clock cycle. Done? Any doubt up to this? Otherwise we will go to the next section. You can unmute and ask, no problem. If you are writing, then it will take lots of time. Okay, so up to this we have used pipelining. Now we have to do this pipelining, but we can improve it. So why not only fetching one instruction at the same cycle? Why not fetch multiple number of instruction? Why not decode multiple number of instruction? Why not execute multiple number of instruction? Why not write back multiple number of instruction? So then it comes the superscalar execution. What we can do here? Each stage can do multiple number of things. So it is a if there are 2 instructions, both are now executed parallelly. You can see here I1 and I1 dash both are executing parallelly. I2 and I2 dash both are executing parallelly. I3 I3 dash and I4 dash. Okay, so this is called pipelining on steroid. Okay, so in this case pipelining is happening, this like our previous case, pipelining is there, but now each stage can do 2 things at a time. We can also do 4 things at a time. So it depends upon how much superscalar execution you are doing. Understood? Nothing else, this much only. Superscalar execution means pipelining with parallel processing. Parallelly each stage can do more than one, each stage can execute more than one instruction. More than one instruction can be fetched, more than one instruction can be decoded, more than one execution can be done parallelly, more than one write backs can be done parallelly. So this is called your superscalar execution. Any doubt up to this? Let's do the mathematics then. What is the value of s? Okay, with pipelining and without pipelining, with pipelining and with superscalar execution. Okay, so if we are using here, there are, suppose in this case we have taken 8 number of instructions are there. Okay, and same 4 stages are there. So what is the equation? 4 plus n minus 1. Okay, 4 is number of stages, n minus 1 is number of instruction minus 1. So total 11 clock cycles, and s value is 11 divided by 8 equals to 1.375. Okay, what will happen with superscalar execution? With superscalar execution, 4 stages, obviously 4 stages it will require, but we can do now 2 things at a time. Okay, so 7 divided by 2. So we can do 2 things at a time. So it will be around 7 clock cycle. So 7 divided by 8, which is now less than 1. So our ideal it can execute both the instruction at a time. So, it cannot execute both the instruction at a time in pipelining, normal pipelining. Okay, but in case of your superscalar execution, now we have dual core, 4 core, multi core CPUs are there. So there are multiple execution units are there. Okay, so in that case we can use superscalar execution. Okay, current generation CPUs has multiple number of processor. So each processor can fetch multiple number of instruction at a time, multiple number of decoding can be done, multiple execution can be done, multiple writebacks can be done. Okay, so this pipelining concept that I was telling, this is very old 1990s technique. Okay, so after that multiprocessors came, multiple number of processing elements came, then superscalar execution can be done. Okay, so in superscalar execution multiple instruction can be fetched, multiple instruction can be executed, so there is no problem. Okay, so in this case we have seen that the what is this s value, the s value is now less than 1. Okay, and we have improved our s and hence our performance. Understood? This is the two things we can do to improve our s value. Done? Or any doubt up to this? Okay, so next is instruction set. What is instruction set? Instruction set is set of instruction provided by a processor. Set of instruction means add, sub, multiply, division, XOR, AND, or operations. All whatever operations we can do inside a processor, combine all of these, it will become a instruction set. Okay, plus instruction set means many things, but till now you understand that instruction set means the set of instructions which we can execute on that processor. Okay, so we know this equation already. From this instruction set we will have to one thing to remember, that if we reduce n, s value will increase. N and s are linked together. What is the meaning of n and s are linked together? Suppose you want to do, suppose I will write it here, one add, 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 add. So suppose I have to do 4 add operation. Can you convert it to a single instruction? Suppose you are adding same number multiple number of times. What is the opposite of this 4 addition? Multiplication we can do. In one multiplication we can do the 4 addition. Understood? So if we decrease the n value from 4 to 1 here, here there are 4 instructions were there, here it is only 1 instruction. But multiplication is complex than addition operation. Okay, so this addition will take suppose 2 steps, 2 steps, 2 steps, 2 steps. Multiplication may take 10 to 12 steps, or maybe sometimes 20 steps. You understood the thing? If we decrease n, s will increase. So the more complex instruction you will use, the number of steps will increase for that complex instruction. Understood the concept? This meaning of this line. If you want to decrease n value, you have to increase the s value, and that will be by default s value will increase. Okay, so from this takeaway we will see few things. Okay, so if you are using complex instruction, then you can reduce your n value, but s value will increase. But if you are using simple instruction, n value will be more, but s will be very less. Okay, so if you are using complex instruction, n value will be less, means number of instruction will be less. You can do more work with less number of instruction, but your s value will be more for each instruction, each complex instruction. But if you are using a simple instruction, you have to do more number of work, you have to generate lots of codes, but each instruction will take less number of steps. So based on these two concepts, there are two different kinds of machines exist in this world. Okay, so if you are using complex instruction, then it will be a CISC computer. If you are using simple instruction, it will be a RISC computer. Okay, CISC means complex instruction set computer, RISC means reduced instruction set computer, and we will see what is the difference between these two. Okay, RISC versus CISC. It is a 2-mark question. What is the difference between RISC and CISC? Okay, so RISC means what? RISC is a instruction set architecture. It is a architecture that is designed to perform a smaller number of computer instructions so that it can operate at a higher speed. Okay, so this RISC type of instruction will have less instruction set. In the instruction set, less number of operations are there. Okay, so there will be no complex instructions like CISC. RISC will have less instruction set, so each instruction can be executed with a higher speed. Understood? But CISC instead will provide lots of capabilities, because it will provide lots of complex instructions in your instruction set, so that you can do multiple number of tasks in just a single instruction. Okay, so CISC and RISC difference is RISC provides less number of operations, CISC provides lots of operation. RISC instructions are very simple, CISC instructions are very complex. Then RISC utilizes a small highly optimized set of instruction. The RISC number of instruction set is very less. CISC utilizes large specialized complex set of instruction. Okay, RISC has less number of simple instructions, CISC has large complex set of instruction. Then what is the advantage of CISC? You must be thinking this CISC is very complex. Then what is the advantage of CISC? For programmer, if you are using a CISC computer, you have to write less number of codes, but in case of RISC, you have to write lots of codes. So that is the advantage. For programmer perspective, CISC is better, but if you are using all the types of pipelining and all, RISC is better. Okay, so in CISC, it is more machine oriented, and as I have told, CISC is more programmer oriented. Okay, it is better for programmer, it is better for machine. CISC is better for machine, RISC is better for machine, CISC is better for programmer. Okay, then RISC has simple and requires one clock cycle to execute the instruction. Because the instructions are very simple in case of RISC, so RISC can execute all the instruction in single clock cycle. Okay, in one clock cycle, RISC instruction can be executed. But as the CISC instructions are complex, it requires multiple clock cycles to execute. Okay, in CISC there are more in RISC there are more number of register, in CISC there are few register, because in RISC you have to bring everything to the register and execute the instruction, but in case of CISC you can do operation like direct addition of two operands present in memory. You don't have to bring it to register and add, you can directly bring it to ALU and directly store it to the memory. So CISC handles the things very fast. Fast means simply very simple instructions, means for programmer the instructions are very simple, so you can do the execution of any work. Means you the as a programmer you can write a work very simply, very means coding is very simple. And for risk you need more register, because you have to bring everything to the register then do the operation. Okay, in risk instruction have multiple uh, instruction have simple fixed format with few addressing modes. What is addressing mode? We will see in the few other classes how to address each byte inside the memory and all those things, addressing and all we will see later. And instruction have variable formats. In this case the instruction length, if you are writing this, then you can write that instruction length for risk is same, instruction length for risk is different. Instruction length means what? You have to represent the instruction in terms of binary. So in case of, if you represent the instruction in binary for risk, it is of same number of bits. If in case of CISC, it is of different number of bits for each instruction. RISC has simple instruction, the program length is long. CISC has complex instruction, program length is short. RISC require more RAM and CISC requires less number of RAM, less RAM. RISC used hardware controlled unit that we will see later, and this uses micro programmed unit. CISC, that also we will see later. Okay, so these are the difference between RISC and CISC. So there are two different kinds of processor we can use or we can design. One is CISC or we can use RISC. Okay, so based on this there are two different system exist in this whole world, RISC or CISC. Whatever system we are currently using, they are a hybrid of RISC and CISC. Okay, so what happened, CISC is very complex but it is good for programmers. So what the architecture people have done, they have copied some RISC property and put it in CISC so that it will be overall good. Okay, but in case of our mobile phones we are using RISC processor. For our PC laptop we are using CISC processor. So if you want more examples and all, you can search, or I will share the link on these examples. Okay, RISC, what is, which are RISC, which are CISC, I will share it on the class. And the last class it was not recorded, the audio was not recorded, I don't know why. Still I am recording this this class also. If everything will be good, I will upload it. Okay, so next one is multiprocessor, multi-computer. Multiprocessor and multi-computer. So what is a multiprocessor? Multiple, obviously multiple processors will be there. As you can see here, P1, P2, P3, there are three different processors are there. Memory will be there. Memory means RAM. RAM will be shared among all these processors. Okay, P1, P2, P3 are three processors. They are connected to memory via interconnection network. Okay, memory is shared among them, so any processor can use this memory at any given time. Okay, and this long connection network is called interconnection network. That is a multiprocessor. Then what is multi-computer? Obviously multi-computer means multiple computers are there. This is a computer, this is a computer, this is a computer, this is a computer. They are connected via network, computer network, internet. Okay, so this is your difference between multiprocessor and multi-computer. Okay, so about multiprocessor, how many, there are different kinds of multiprocessors are there, that we will see in separate chapter. So for the time being, this is the chapter number 1. So this is the introduction to the chapter number 1. So that is the end of this chapter 1 as well. Okay, so up to this, if you have any doubt, you can ask in any section of the chapter number 1. Any doubt? Anyone has any doubt, you can ask. So our chapter number 1 is over. I was thinking it will take 3 classes. How many classes it took? 3, I think. 3 or 4. So we have covered all these things in the chapter number 1, and chapter number 1 is very important because it gives the overall whatever we will read in this whole syllabus. Any doubt? No doubt. Then we'll go to chapter number 2. Okay, so before starting chapter number 2, let me know, have you read about how to add, multiply the binary numbers? Add, multiply, divide binary numbers in the previous semester? Okay, great. Then I will not teach those parts. Number representation, how to take one's complement, how to take two's complement, all those things I will not teach you, but I will go through it, just a recap. So we will speedily cover this part. We'll cover this today or in the next class. Number representation, better we'll do it in next class. Okay, so this is the chapter number 2 called number representation, how to represent numbers in binary. So this is very easy, this chapter. So we'll see it in the next class. Okay, so you have any doubt, you can ask, or we will end the call. And you have the book for your computer architecture? Anyone can let me know? Okay, you have the book. Okay, uh, I have uploaded that book to classroom or not? Book PDF file. Okay, so I have uploaded it. Okay, no problem. Then you can go through the chapter number 1. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Okay, so chapter number 1 is over. Now we will go to chapter number 2. So before that, in the next class, if you have any doubt in chapter number 1, you can ask me. Okay, so as you have no doubt, we'll end the call now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.